I encourage them, sometimes we have to separate from people around us that we may love, but we have to do it. It's an honor to be a part of the JIT podcast, and I appreciate this time with you, BC.
I appreciate it too. So I have on here Cheryl Verrett today, and she lives in LA, married to her best friend Kelvin. She's a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. She and her husband co-pastor Relevant LA. She enjoys drinking coffee and exotic teas and walking on the beach at sunset. I wish that was my life, like all day, every day.
Me too.
She also enjoys traveling. And one of her greatest joys after God and her family is working with women. For over 20 years, she has been motivating, educating, empowering, and equipping women around the nation to manifest wholeness, live bigger, and manifest the life they've always wanted. So, Cheryl, can you tell me when you realized that working with women was one of your greatest joys?
Great question, BC. I believe it started years ago when I was asked to be a guest speaker at one of our Christian women retreats. Okay. And I was nervous. I didn't want to do it, but you want to do it, but you really don't want to do it. Right. And I just remember preparing, and then when it was time to minister before the ladies and I began to speak and open up my mouth, I can see shifts in their behavior. I can see shifts in the atmosphere from sometimes being a little more tense or anxious because of things that were going on in their life and the topics that we were covering, to them just releasing and walking in this freedom. And I remember as we created an atmosphere of safety where they could be transparent and we can talk, that you can see the life change that occurred. And it was in that moment, it was afterwards, they came and thanked me for sharing the word of God with them. And you can see that something had shifted in the atmosphere, that there were people who wanted to change, they just didn't know how to change. It was the how-tos. And so once I saw the change and the transformation, I was hooked.
Right. Was it specifically a women's event?
This was specifically one, and this is where we had actually gone on a retreat. And part of my life's journey is that my mission, my goal is to make sure that I speak and pour into the lives of a minimum of 100,000 women. Right. So I'm on a mission. I want to change and transform lives. And I believe that it starts with me, and then I touch 12, and then they touch 12, and they touch 12, and then we have the internet, and we can make real differences in the lives of all of us. My specific population are women. I love ministering to women and speaking with women. I'm a life coach. You hear me say ministry because I'm a pastor, life coach, all of that, but it's my life's ministry. So I kind of blend in the two when I begin to speak. Yeah.
Okay, so this might be a silly question, but apart from the fact that you're a woman and, this all started with a women's program, why did you necessarily pick women as your niche? Because, I don't like leaving my brothers out there. And then also, you could have just been like, oh, people in general need to be empowered. Yes. So why women specifically?
Because my husband and I actually started a ministry together. And so my role was to equip, educate, wholeness in the lives of women and their families. Okay. And his was to do the same, but it was integrity of the life of men. So we just naturally gravitated to both, but all are welcome to both. But I think that there's a transparency that occurs when you're a woman. You understand the seasons. You understand that, like for me, I'm of a certain age. And so my body is doing something a little different. I get that. A man may or may not know that. As we go through our bodies begin to change, I get that. So I understand what goes on in life as we try to move, as we try to have our voice, as we begin to try to speak, it's just a little different. I get how women think.
Right.
And I just chose to work with them. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so can you tell us specifically how practical ways you do empower women? For example, let's say somebody has been sexually abused or
Yes.
gone through any traumatic event. How are they able to transition into coming, out the other side healed?
Yes, yes. Well, you know what? First is to acknowledge that it's a journey and it's not just a one-time conversation and that's it. But
Right.
what happens is that I create a place of safety where they're able to talk and to speak and to be transparent, to really share what was going on in their lives, and to let them know that they're not alone, to let them know that there has been, the statistics show that 1 in 3 women have been sexually abused. And so once they understand that if I have a room full of 100 people and I ask one of every 3 and they have a count off and they look around, sometimes I do that because I think it's powerful for people to be able to visually see what's going on. So when I have a conference, for example, and I'm working with them, then I'll have them stand and I'll have them count off. And then those, 1 keep standing, then 3rd one sit down, and you'll look around. And that in and of itself is powerful. So first, we acknowledge that you're not alone. The second is to begin to bring forth and to share the emotions regarding the shame that they feel, the loneliness that they feel, the betrayal that they feel, and the fact that they're stuck. And then we begin to give them tools on how to work that out, how to change their mindset, how to change their thought life, how to pour more inside of them as opposed to what is coming out of them, how to watch their mind gates, their ear gates. So, for example, when for the women who might have been sexually abused, along with that comes emotional abuse and usually verbal abuse, right? So they usually are coupled together. So
Right.
we have to be so diligent to make sure that we're watching what we are seeing on television, what we're listening to, what we're pouring into ourselves, what we're reading. I encourage them, sometimes we have to separate from people around us that we may love, but we have to do it. And then we have to, as we're being mindful of what we're listening to, that what is that? For every 1 negative word, we need 5 positive words in order to counteract that. So that's a journey in and of itself. So that means that I have to be diligent on removing people from my environment. I have to be mindful of who I let in, my safety net, this little area. So it's a whole process. I also do, I'm a spiritual based coach, and I
Good.
believe in prayer. So we have the prayer, we have going before God, we have just releasing and just knowing that they're not alone. It's much more to it, but really those are some of the basics.
Right. And what about the woman? Because, you know, I believe it takes a certain amount of willingness or courage to step out of that line and say that that was me too. So, what about the women that don't, or maybe they haven't even been exposed to programs like this, and they're still in their rut?
Yeah.
Maybe removed from the situation, but still need to heal, and they just don't know how. What do you suggest, or how do they go about that?
Well, the way that I work my program sometimes is that I bring people who have been abused, who are at another place in their journey where they're walking in their healing. And I will have them be a part of. So, what I have as well, so I didn't mention it, I have 2 events that I hold. One is SheEmerged and one is Refresh. So,
Okay.
say for example, so I'm gonna back up a little bit. So, say for example, a woman has been abused in whatever fashion or form,
Mhm.
because each is devastating in its own way,
Right.
right? So what I do is sometimes when we're working towards healing, we're like, okay, these are the steps, do X, Y, and Z. And we think that that is it. But sometimes when we're so broken that we can't even get out of the bed, we can't even begin to think in order to start making those steps. So we have one program that's called Refresh, and it's not necessarily for women who have been abused in some way, but it's women who have been stuck in whatever fashion or form. And then we have another one, which is Emerged. And then that's when they get the tools where they are emerging as healed. They are emerging as delivered. They emerge as strengthened and walking full of confidence. So when we have the events, and I know that it's geared around people who have been abused in some form, I will have people who will share their testimony. And I will speak as if everybody has gone through it, because the one universal thing that everybody deals with is pain. It's
Yeah.
hurt. So if I deal with the root of that, it covers everybody that's in the room.
Okay. And I agree with the pain, especially when you're isolated. It makes you feel as though, you're the only one going through it. And so I love how you said you pose it as though everybody's in this, and then it gives other people courage to step
Yes.
out, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I guess, so my question was,
Okay.
for somebody who is not able to attend a program like that, or
Okay.
is not able to be exposed, or is just not around a community that they are fortunate to be exposed to a program like that, what do you suggest they do? But they want healing, they want it, they want the community, they want to go through the steps, but they're just not exposed to, or they feel like, you know
It's a challenge, BC, when you're not exposed to it, right? Because
yeah,
you don't know what you don't know. And
right,
it's once you become exposed to situations or life or resources, then you're like, oh, that's for me. And so what happens is, honestly, unfortunately, they have to take the first step. They have to, whether they call, whether they participate in a webinar, whether they get online. Right now, the resources on Google are fantastic. You
right,
can find someone somewhere.
right,
And then I would ask them to really think about, what do they need? Do they need it to be more spiritually based?
mm-hmm.
There's something for everybody.
Right,
And I just propose one that's more spiritually based, because I think that gets to the root of
right,
it, and it wipes it out. And then now you're walking in that freedom, and you'll begin to get the tools. But if they don't have that, then I would say, then get information that begins to strengthen them. They call it self-help. I call it the Bible, I call it the word, but you can have both. People sometimes want to say it's either or, but how about both?
yeah,
How about get it both and begin to feel yourself, and then they have to seek it out.
yeah,
And when they get that aha moment and they didn't even realize that, what I find is that women will, sometimes when we have so much pain, we bury it. We bury what we've gone through. We just don't want to deal with it. We erect these walls, and nobody can penetrate it. And so once that wall begins to crumble, or whatever we bear starts to become uncovered, and different triggers happen in our lives, right? Be it a person, a smell, a place,
mm-hmm.
a sound, or what have you, then it starts to come up. And then we have to start dealing with that. What is it that I'm feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What happened? How can I overcome this? And then attach to other women who've been through it, who won't judge you.
Yeah, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree. So what happens with there are instances whereby maybe you have gone through a program, you have started your healing process, or you're at a place where you feel like, wow, you're actually have dealt with and addressed the things that you really need to address. What happens when years down the line, decades down the line, and then something triggers you? Have you dealt with anything like that, any situation like that?
I think we all have, right?
Right.
So we might have all had a relationship that I'll just use that as opposed to abuse, right? But let's just say a relationship that didn't work out, and you were wondering why the relationship ended, or it didn't end right, or what have you. You
Right.
thought you dealt with those emotions. You've
Right.
gone through life, and then now you find yourself married, or maybe not even you. It might be your child who's got married, and they bring up this situation, and you start behaving a little different
Mm,
because it's triggering some of the things that was pushing your buttons before.
right.
Between now and here, they may not have triggered your buttons. You might have put in your safe place. your safe zone. But then at some point, whatever has been buried, whatever is in the dark, it will come out. So it's important to begin to process and begin to ask yourself questions. Where am I? What's going on? Because when you begin to ask yourself a question, your mind is forced to come up with an answer. And so it's a lot of self-work. Don't doubt yourself. Don't get down on yourself. Just say, you know what? Thank you for revealing that. That's just another part of me that I need to work on as I'm on my journey, moving towards my greatness of what I've been called to do. And
Right.
you just keep on going.
Right.
But sometimes we get so down on ourselves, or we like, man, I thought I dealt with this, or this is still bothering me. And we begin to talk negatively to ourselves. But you keep that same talk, that same knowledge about who you are and what you've been called to do, and you keep just declaring it and saying it. Because when we say it, we see, faith comes by hearing, right? So we have to keep saying it. Who do we believe? We believe ourselves. We believe our own voice. So we have to make sure that our own voice is saying what is true about us, not what we see right now, maybe not even what we're feeling right now, but to say the truth about us. And then to stick with that story and to
Right.
continue on.
Right. I think a great way to do that is even in the seasons when everything is all good and rosary, that's when we gather ammunition, right? That's when
Yes.
we put on the full armor of God and
Yes.
everything, all the information and ways that the tools that we did get to be able to combat,
Mm-hmm.
situations and seasons like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a great point. You know why? Because when things are going good, you can pay attention, you can absorb more. But
Mm,
when you're in the middle of that valley, it's hard to concentrate.
yeah.
You have all these voices that are competing in your ear. You're trying to figure out what to do, and it's hard to just stay fixed on a path. But I think that if we look at life as a journey, as something where we're always growing, we're always wanting to get better, we're preparing, because there's seasons that occur, right? So there's seasons to kill, there's seasons to reap a harvest, there's seasons to grow, to have relationships with you, to release relationships. There's seasons, and if we understand that we are always in the middle, at the beginning of a season, going into the middle of a season, coming out of a season, we'll know, okay, now I just know where I am. Let me just locate myself so
Yes.
then I can continue on. And this not always put a period at the end of whatever we're going through at that time. Even if it's good, don't put a period,
Right.
because it's going to come back around. There is some other challenge that you're going to have to face, or we'll have to face.
Yeah, I totally agree about the seasons in life, like Ecclesiastes 3, right? Um,
Yes.
like you said, don't put a period on it, put a comma or put like an evolve. I'm evolving in this, right?
Yes.
There's something that I say that in every season of life, there's something to learn, even if it's a good season. And it doesn't even have to be something tangible or physical. Sometimes it can be an internal growth, and that supersedes external growth anyway.
Yes.
That's what I,
Yes.
but yeah.
Yes. You know, if you look at verses 1 through 8, chapter 3 in Ecclesiastes 1 through 8, it tells you about all the different seasons. So when you begin to see that, you go, wow, I'm not alone. Like
Right,
this is a part of life. And
right.
then you can breathe. You're like, oh, okay. And so what I want people to understand, even when people who've gone through some type of abuses, that use what you've learned in order to propel you into your future.
Mm,
And then we have to relabel what we're going through. So
right.
for example, the word crisis, there is no word crisis in Japanese. So in Japanese, the word crisis means opportunity.
Mm,
So I like that. So I mean, every time there's a crisis that we say is going on here, I'm
opportunity,
like, I have an opportunity to grow, I have an
right,
opportunity to learn,
yeah,
opportunity to understand I don't like that, or that person's not good in my life, that
right.
they're not a part of my growth season,
Mhm.
they're keeping me down. So I like the word opportunity. So it's all in how we look at our situations.
Right. That's so good. Opportunity, perspective, and yeah, that's good. I think it's it's also very important because when you have a clear understanding of that you're in this season, you realize that not that it goes by quicker, but worrying is so heavy, it makes the days or the season longer than
Yes.
it really
Yeah.
is. So when you have a clear
Yes.
understanding of what season you're in, it
Mm-hmm.
just makes it bearable. It makes it, oh, like you said,
Yes.
a part of life, and we'll get through it. We'll leap over it.
Yes.
What am I
Yes.
using it? What am I gonna use this for in my next season? What
Yes.
skills am I gathering for this? Yeah.
When you're looking at the seasons, it gives you hope to look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Like,
Mm,
I see it, I know it's there, and I'm gonna just keep
yeah.
walking. But there's a sense of hope that comes that you don't have before.
Mhm.
It's that peace that other people don't get, that you have in the middle of the storm, to say, you know what, I know I'm coming out of this. I don't know how, but I'm gonna come out
Yeah,
slaying.
coming
I'm
out.
gonna come out better. I'm gonna come out propelling, and I'm gonna be the change that I want to see. And so I love transforming minds. I love putting a new twist. And what I find is, when people who've gone through challenges, they tend to see linear or only in one way, as opposed to expanding their horizons to be able to see that there's more in store for them, and that they're still loved, that they're still valued, that we still see them,
Right.
that they are still enough, and that they are to emerge because there's purpose on their life. And
Right.
when they get that there's purpose on my life, and that there's that what I do is making a difference, not only to me and the people around me, because we show that to them too, how what they do affects those around them. And then you start to look at how they're affecting their kids and the generations going after that. Man, we're transforming lives right there.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a great way to channel your energy. I think that's good. At the end of the day, it does boil down to, purpose. I preach that all day, every day, purpose.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. This was amazing. I learned a lot of stuff. I hope, it's able to bless other people. At this juncture, I just want to play a little game or just, ask you some
Okay.
questions to get to know you. So I do know that I've heard grandparents talk about
Yes,
their relationship with their grandkids, how different it is, but you're a great grandmother.
yes.
So what's that like? Is that like is it like the same relationship as your grandkids, or it's totally
It
different?
is. It
Okay.
is.
Okay.
It feels for me, and maybe
Okay.
everybody's different, but it feels the same. But I have to tell you, BC, being a grandparent is like 100 times better than being a
I
parent.
hear that all the time. I hear that all the
It is
time. Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I don't know if we just rested, having more time or energy, like what we thought was so important at that time. We realized, oh, it wasn't that,
It's
or
not a big deal. Yeah.
we understand life. Oh, it is just a new,
Amazing.
fresher breath air. Yeah,
That's good. Okay. And you said you love traveling.
I
So
do.
what are your, let's say, your top 3 countries you've been to or places you've been to that you would recommend?
Where I never thought that I would recommend is Thailand.
Oh,
So it is beautiful. I was in the cages with lions. I have pictures with me with the lions, right?
okay.
And then the mountainside is beautiful and green. Now there's a lot of poverty. I went there for a missions trip, and I always leave some time over to like sightsee and meet the people. And I went to South Africa. I loved it. It was mind blowing. Now you always see certain pictures. This is for me. I only see pictures on TV of what I think Africa looks like. But when I got there were certain areas that were so beautiful. It was green.
Mm.
Um, the culture, the knowledge that I received. They have something called an apartheid museum that is there, and it is. You just have to visit. I'll put it that way. You will come out with your mindset.
Africa.
And Rome, Pisa. I went to
Wow.
Pisa. Very nice. People were awesome, friendly. We stayed up until like 4 in the morning, just talking.
Nice.
Went to a villa. So I love meeting people.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. That's connecting with so many
Yes,
different kinds of people, right? Well,
yes.
that's it, Cheryl. Do you want to say any last words?
Yes, you know what? I just want to say that, BC, I just appreciate the fact that you have your legit podcast, because I believe that you are the voice for this generation right now. And the same with me, as I think that I'm the change that is supposed to occur right now. I think that you are the change that is supposed to occur right now. And that because of what it is that you're doing, I'm believing that lives will be changed around the world because you say yes to your calling. And for those, it is true.
Thank you.
And for those, I appreciate partnerships, you know. And for those who are listening to me and they get a chance to listen to the podcast, as a result of people participating in my program, my coaching program, or asking me to come and minister and or just speak, I do all of it. That people, they eradicate their beliefs that keep them down. They receive new strategies in order to increase their self-esteem and their confidence, and then to change their mindset, their words, their knowledge. And so what I'm looking for now are people who are willing to say yes, to stop circling around that mountain of fear and doubt and going over and over and making the same mistakes again. We're ready to form a new community of people who are ready to say, I don't care what I've been through, but I know where I'm going, and I want to connect with us together. And I want to learn the steps to go from A to Z to my victory over there. And I am here for you. If you know of anyone, and if you're listening to me and you want to participate, I am here. I've been doing it over 20 years. And I love, love, love. It's my passion to transform the lives of people.
That's great. Is there like a Google search they can, what do they put in Google? What's the name of the program?
Thank you, BC. So you can just look under CherylVerrett.com,
So,
and there's a place for you to learn more about me or to request for me to participate in one of your programs. Also, you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. So please reach out. I'm looking forward. I am here. I want to walk out this journey with my sisters and a few good men if you're there. Look, and you're game. But I'm going to move you on over to my husband because he is fantastic. I'm going to put that little over there with him. He's just my friend, and he's a great person. So I love men, working with men. That's just my personal preference, and me working with women, and just dig deep and just go and just grab a hold of life. I just think life is delicious right now, and some people don't see that, but I want you to taste the good fruit so you can just grow and just be a part of it and let your light shine the way that I believe that you were intended to allow your light to shine.
Nice. Thank you, Cheryl. It was an honor. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
I appreciate you being on here. Thank you.
Thank you, PC.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.